Welcome back to the Unseen Hour, and if you've made it this far, well, you've got nerves of steel, or maybe something darker is keeping you listening. I'm joined once again by Sarah Delaney, folklorist, researcher, and, by now, our unofficial guide into the shadowed canyons of Skinwalker lore. Sarah, we left off with a promise, a first-hand account, and an old legend. Are you ready to take us deeper?
I am, but I'll be honest, Mark. This part is harder to tell, not just because of the content, but because of the weight it carries. So many of these stories are passed down quietly, privately, and when you speak them aloud, you risk waking the things they describe, but here we go.
Take your time.
This story was told to me by a man named Jonah, a Dine Elder who lived just outside Window Rock. When he was 15, he and his cousin Thomas were walking home after a ceremony. The sky was clear, the moon high, and they were walking along a dirt road that cut through a mesa. Nothing unusual until they heard something moving just ahead. They thought it might be a coyote, so they slowed down, cautious.
But it wasn't a coyote, was it?
No, it was something that looked like one at first, but Jonah said it stood up on its hind legs, and its face wasn't right, too long, the mouth too wide, like it had been split with a knife. And when it smiled, he said he heard a sound in his mind, not in his ears, like laughter pressed into his thoughts.
I don't even know what to say.
It gets worse. The thing spoke, but not out loud. It mimicked their grandfather's voice, said, "You boys better run, it's coming," and they ran, Mark. They ran faster than they ever had, didn't stop until they reached their grandmother's house. But when they got there, their grandmother was already waiting outside, holding a bowl of ashes and cedar. She said, "It touched one of you. I smelled it in the wind."
Do we know which one it touched?
Jonah never said, and Thomas died 2 years later. Sudden illness. No clear cause. Jonah never believed it was natural.
Sarah, that's devastating and terrifying. It makes you wonder how many quiet deaths like that are really part of something older. Something we don't have the language to explain.
Exactly. And now, as promised, the legend of the first Skinwalker. This is one I only heard once, and I had to get permission to share it here.
We're honored, truly.
Long ago, before the people had words for evil, there was a man born under a blood moon. He was beautiful, strong, beloved by his people, and he had a twin sister. They were inseparable, two halves of the same spirit, but as he grew, he became envious. He wanted to walk between worlds, speak with the spirits, take knowledge not meant for him.
Let me guess, he found a way.
He did. He learned to bleed the earth, to twist bones, to feed on the pain of others. And he made a pact with something older than the wind, something that lived in the rocks beneath the sacred mountains. In return, he had to destroy the one who loved him most.
His sister?
Yes, and he did it in the oldest way. During an eclipse, he offered her heartbeat to the shadow, and in that moment, his eyes turned black, and his skin became a cloak he could change. His breath became fog, and his voice became every sound you fear in the dark.
That's mythic and also horrifying.
It is, and the people, when they found what he had done, they called him the first of the cursed. They say his body was torn apart, but his spirit, it escaped into the stones, the air, and he waits, whispering to the broken, offering them his path.
And that's how Skinwalkers are made.
That's one story, yes, and it's one that reminds us that evil isn't always loud. Sometimes it's seductive, quiet, like a voice you trust saying, "Come with me, it'll be all right."
Sarah, we're almost at the end of tonight's episode, but before we go, I want to ask one last thing. In all your years of research, all the stories, is there any hope, any way to undo what's been done, to bring someone back who's gone down that path?
No, not fully. The stories agree on one thing. Once you become one, there's no returning. The soul is corrupted beyond healing, but there are ways to stop them and to protect yourself, and we'll talk about that in our final part.
So there is a final part.
Yes, one more, and it's going to be the most difficult because we're going to talk about what happens when they're close, really close, and how to survive that encounter.
You heard her. Listeners, stay tuned because the final hour is coming, and it might be the one you remember longest. This is the Unseen Hour. We'll be back after the break.